So in this video, I'm going to show you how to create triggers for intervention content based on physiological data. So basically when the wearable picks up that there's been a significant change in physiological data, and we can look at which different data types we can use, then it's going to trigger an event on the phone to send a notification to the user, which they will click and it will take them into the mEMA app. And then what they see is then up to you. So it could be a question checking in, how are you feeling right now? It could be, would you like to do a meditation right now? It could just be directly serving up the intervention content, whether it's a video, an audio file, written, text, link to an external website, whatever version of intervention content you want to work with, you can serve it up to your participants based on changes in their physiological data. So that's what I'm going to show you how to set up today. It's super simple. There's one page in the mEMA platform. It's right here. You go to Garmin triggers and you bring up this page, and there's a few different parameters that you've got to set in order to make it work. So the first thing is you're going to choose which one of your participants. So you just select from this menu, and obviously you'll only have access to people in your group. Then you select which survey you want them to see when there's a change in their data. And then you select which data type you want to work with. So right now we're working with the Garmin devices. So these are the metrics that we get in real time from the Garmin. It's the Garmin Vivio Smart 4 that we're working with. And each of these we get in real time, meaning we're getting multiple times a second, we're getting an update on most of these. Obviously, if they're not moving, you don't get a steps walked update multiple times a second. But when it detects that there's been a change, it will update it. We're working right now with stress levels, and there's more information on our website about how Garmin measures stress levels and the algorithms they work with to do that. But let's first go all the way down here and do show data. So we've selected for this person, we want to look at stress level data. And so if we click show data, it's going to show us what is in the database for this specific person. And then we'll get back up here and look at how to set a survey trigger based on that. But if we go down here, we can see that there are, for this particular person, 1,320 samples of stress data in the database. There are, and so that covers 84 values. So the stress score is an index from 0 to 100. So it sounds like they've gotten up to 84 different value types that have been detected. Their minimum is 4, their maximum is 96, and we can see that here. If we scroll through the chart, we'll go up here and we'll see 96 is the max that they got. That averages out at 30.6. The minimum count for any one score is 1. So for instance here, they only scored 82 one time within this sample. So I don't know how long, it was a few minutes. It's a pretty short one. The maximum count was 73, so that's probably down here somewhere. Here we go. So they scored 73 times in that period. And the average count is 15 plus some change. So that's what their data look like. And then you can use this chart to kind of get a sense of what is normal for this person, right? So each of us have a different way in which our autonomic and nervous system responds. So for this particular person, we're seeing, here are the count totals. So here's the 18. That seems to be sort of one of their favorite scores to be on. So the red, I'm hovering over the red, and that's showing you how many of those scores there are, and then the gray is the percentile. So we can see that starts to climb pretty quickly, that most of the scores, so here's around about the 50th percentile, most of the scores are under 23 here. And then as we go up, they're not scoring very much in the higher ranges. So when we get up to, say, a score of 60, almost 93% of their scores are below 60. So this helps you then to decide for that person, where do you want to set a trigger? What would be a significant increase in stress or decrease in stress, if that's what you're looking for this person? So this is done on an individual basis. So for this person, we can see their average is around about 30, but that down here, we get to the 50th percentile, 50% of their scores are below 23. So you might choose to set 23 as the trigger. So to maybe set the 50th percentile. It depends what you're looking for, obviously. But let's say we're gonna go with that. We're gonna go with the 50th percentile because that's when it sort of starts to drop off here. And you want to set a trigger based on that. And you come back up here, and here's where we would put that in that data. We'd put in here the 50th percentile or above. That we're going to trigger a survey. And then we'll say how many samples have to be above the 50th percentile, like how many concurrent samples in a row would need to be above the 50th percentile in order for us to trigger a survey. And this number can be whatever you want. I've been working with 10, so there's at least some sort of, and some people ask, well, what does that translate to in time? And again, it depends on how quickly the device is detecting a change. Typically for me, when I'm wearing the Garmin device, 10 sample, I'm usually getting about 4 or 5 samples a minute. So that would be a 2-minute period for me, but that's not a precise formula, and it's different for everybody because everybody's body functions differently. So we're telling it that if we're seeing 10 samples above the 50th percentile, then we're going to trigger a survey. We can disable the triggers between these hours to make sure that if they are wearing the Garmin device when they're sleeping, we're not triggering their phone. Use the first or last X number of samples within the entire data set. So if you've been tracking this person for a month, you're going to have a lot of samples in there. And you can choose to use the last X number or the first. So if you wanted to look more at a baseline period before you'd started an intervention, you might choose first here instead of last. You can also set the minimum number of times between notifications. So if they're going through a period of high stress, say at work or something, you don't want to be triggering them every single time that they get 10 samples that are above the 50th percentile. That will probably get them even more stressed. So you can tune this to make sure that it's not becoming burdensome for them. So you set these different parameters, and then as soon as you do set trigger, it's going to set a trigger for that particular person. And when that happens, you'll see now there's a little asterisk next to stress level. So whenever you open up this menu again, you'll see that there's already a trigger set for them. So then all you have to do is ask your participant who's got this mobile code to press the synchronize button on their app, and it will pull down this information. And as long as they're wearing their Garmin device and it's connected to their app, then you're going to be able to, they will receive these triggers within these parameters, and then they'll be able to interact with whatever survey you signed for them at those times.